So Manoj joined NCTC in '96, and up to 2004 he was working there. In 2004 he joined Imtech Chandigarh as a scientist, and during his job he also did his PhD. So he is the person who want to do something in the life. Initially, he has no knowledge of the programming and other things. He come from the organic chemistry, biology background. So he done a lot of work in the different areas. And what I like about him, he is simply focused on doing something to the science. Actually. That's what I like actually. So slowly he picked up the bioinformatics and then he contributed a lot. And now I got the knowledge that he is also working in the experimental biology, validating the hypothesis basically. So I will not take much time actually. He's an excellent scientist actually. So Manoj, stage is for you.
Thank you, Dr. Raghawa. Is my slides visible?
Yes.
So I'm having them in the. Yeah, are they moving?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Dr. Raghawa, for the nice introduction, and it's really nice to be with Dr. Raghawa and learn bioinformatics. It was a wonderful journey since then, and yeah. So today, this talk is basically focused, or the entire program is to make the participants and everybody aware what Indian scientists have done in the area of biological databases and the computational algorithm which are being developed in this field, and to discuss with all the participants. And I'll be discussing in this talk about the resources which we have developed in the area of viral bioinformatics primarily. Of course, we have done a little bit in some other areas also. So as Dr. Raghawa told, there's a safe time from organic chemistry, shifted to virology. After virology, again, virology at NCDC Delhi, where we have to basically investigate outbreaks currently like COVID. So we almost from 1996 to almost 2004 for a decade, we have investigated several outbreaks and provide molecular diagnosis for that. And I joined with Dr. Raghawa, and then we basically learned a lot of bioinformatics and started following Dr. Raghawa in this particular area. And since I was working on viruses earlier, so I chose a domain known as viral bioinformatics, because in that particular area is particularly neglected at that time. So we have initiated that part. So this is the profile of our lab. Primarily, we are focusing on the antiviral resources. I'll be talking about briefly giving you an overview of what we have done in that. And also, we have developed the viral genomics of therapeutic resources in general. And besides that, we were also working some other areas like RNAi, we are working in CRISPR, we are working, and also one outlier that is biofilm and quorum sensing, particularly AMR. So in these areas, our lab is working, and over the period of a decade or so, we could contribute a bit of tools in these particular areas, and which Dr. Raghav haven't told that the tools which were developed by Dr. Raghawa and ours and other groups at Imtech, they are heavily cited. So these cited as well as they are accessed worldwide, and heavy citation of all the tools as well as the heavy access. So these tools are very important to the worldwide community. And because of that, BIG, this Beijing Genomic Institute, they have basically collected all the biological resources developed and made a ranking. And according to this ranking, you could see top 20 institutions ranking is based on database number, and in that number currently CSR IMTech is representing India in this particular light institutions who have developed number of databases. And thanks to Dr. Raghava, because Dr. Raghava has contributed immensely in this endeavor. And besides, like EBI, NCBI, and PIG, and IMTech is basically in that particular line. So it's really proud to be part of that particular list. And particularly if we see the resources developed there in viral bioinformatics per se. So our lab is also contributing about 4% of the total resource developed globally in this area of or the resources on the viruses. Why viruses? Currently, I think this question everybody knows because of the COVID, why viruses are important. And you could see in this slide in last 2 decades or so, we have witnessed about 12 important epidemic or pandemic. Means every alternate years, we do have at least a pandemic or epidemic. So here you could see dengue, West Nile, SARS, like SARS-1, then the MERS, and now COVID. And like earlier in 2009, we have the swine flu, and Ebola in 2013-16, Zika in 2015. So these are the very deadly viruses, and to have lot of morbidity and mortality. Therefore, it is important to work on these particular viruses. And as far as the bioinformatic part is concerned, we don't have much of the resources for the viral diseases or for the viruses. So we have decided to work in that particular area. As you all know, viruses are only alive when they are inside the cells. So they come inside the cells, take through receptors, they go inside, then using the host machinery, they replicate. And after application, they said viruses and then infect others. So this is the common virus life cycle. And initially, we have focused on the antivirals. So in this virus life cycle, people have targeted virus entry, virus replication, virus assembly. Lot of things are being targeted by different molecules. And therefore, we have started our work on these antivirals. So our initial work was focused on antiviral peptides. At that time, there was a lot of emphasis on antimicrobial peptides. So those antimicrobial peptides are really important. So therefore, we have started our work on this antiviral peptide per se. And here you could see we have started our things with collecting experimental data available in literature. That's the first thing which we did. And then we developed our algorithm which would predict the antiviral peptides. So what this is the support vector machine based algorithm. Here you could see about more than 1200 antiviral peptides we have utilized. And we use different machine learning techniques. So this is the overview, and that 1245 peptides, and we have divided them highly effective as well as least effective. This is the first kind of one of the first algorithm which was using the negative data set which are experimentally proven. Prior to that, in any of the antimicrobial peptide or other areas, people were using negative data which were taken randomly or from the resources, right? So they were not experimentally proven. So this was one of the first algorithm in that area which utilized the experimentally proven negative data sets, and henceforth the confidence in the algorithm is much more, right? And this algorithm is available, and the performance is about 85%. It is accurate using the standard tools to predict the accuracy of the. So it is working on the basically training testing data set as well as working equally good on independent data sets, and comparing with the existing models which are general for the antimicrobial. So its performance was really good. So it is available on the web servers where user can provide the just peptides, and it will let compute using motif, alignment, composition, and physiochemical properties, and it will try to predict, yes, whether it is an antiviral peptide or not. So all the related details can be. So besides that, this is the first algorithm we have started, but then we have focused to develop the resource. So this is HIPDB is a resource of anti-HIV peptides. So lot of almost about thousands peptides are available in this particular databases, which are having activity or tested experimentally to target HIV. And after that particular resource, we have developed an AVPDB resource. This is a resource which is again of antiviral peptides and targeting, these peptides basically targeting 60 medically important viruses. So all important HIV was separate, influenza, like SARS, and all sort of these peptides are now available in this. And these peptides, you could see all the relevant detail, what are the peptides which are standard, as well as the structure. Dr. Raghav told you that we can have the structure of the peptide also. So we are using Dr. Raghav's tools to predict the peptide structure. So all these information are available in this AVPDB. And then using this particular tool, we have particular data we have then developed prediction of peptides antiviral activity in terms of IC50. Because the earlier methods which we have developed, they are the classification based. So we were not aware of what would be the IC50. So taking the data from our antiviral peptide AVPDB as well as the HIV data, so collectively using the almost 3,000 peptides, we have developed this algorithm, and it could predict the IC50 of a peptide in terms of their antiviral activity. So this resource was developed. And besides, so initial phase for antiviral, we were focusing mainly on antiviral peptides, but subsequently we have, because the small molecules are important, then we have shifted to small molecules and developed a couple of tools to predict the antiviral peptides, antiviral molecules, particularly small molecules. So for that, we have taken data from CHMBL, and this data was for some important viruses, particularly we have for HIV, SCV, and HBV, and HHV, and other some small molecules for other 26 other viruses. And collectively, we have developed a general antiviral predictor, and this predictor having performed really well. So almost about 300, 400, 100, more than 100 molecules we are using for training testing, and about 10% molecule we were using for the validation data sets, and it's performing very well. So around 0.7 was the Pearson correlation coefficient, and which performed equally well on the independent data sets. So here you could see in the graph scatter plot between actual and predicted efficacy. You could see the performance of this algorithm is quite good. And we have also checked their applicability domain, which is basically to measure whether our algorithm, what is their applicability, in which for which kind of the compounds it can be used. And if you could see, this blue are the training testing data, and this red one are the validation. So you could see in this particular box, if they are there, so this box is showing their applicability domain. If something is outside this applicability domain, that would be outlier. Means our algorithm will not be able to perform on that particular data, but within the applicability domain, it would be able to perform. So this is another measures to see the robustness of our algorithm. So they are good enough. And on the web server, one has to just paste the molecule SMILEY, and it will predict its basically its IC50 as well as the inhibitory accuracy, antiviral percent inhibitory accuracy activity of those molecules. So then we have focused on an individual virus besides the general antiviral predictor. This is the HIV protype to predict the HIV protein inhibitors. Primarily in HIV, the drugs which we are giving are targeting the HIV protease, reverse transcriptase, and integrase. On these targets, the antiviral drugs are being developed and are in use. So we took the data from literature, and then almost about 1200 to 2000 molecules were there. So using this data, so they are, what was the difference? So currently these data which we are using, these molecules are tested against a specific protein of HIV, and they were inhibiting it. So using that data, we developed the algorithm as well as the models, and these models were integrated on a web server, and users has to either paste their smiley in this particular box, or they can draw their molecule here also and can get the prediction. So it will let whether the molecule will be having antiviral activity against those specific protein of HIV or not. And we have tested, compared these algorithms with any of the other existing algorithms. So they are far, far superior than the other. And the best thing is that the algorithm which we have developed, it is provided in the form of a web server. None of the other algorithm was in the form of the web server. And they are very focused. They are focusing on a specific, like ritonavir analog, just focusing on a specific drug and their analog. So on the other hand, our algorithm, which is quite diverse, having all kind of the molecule, thousands of molecules available in that particular for tested for that protein, were utilized. Besides then HIV, we have focused on the flaviviruses, because which include HCV, hepatitis C virus, as well as the dengue virus, Japanese encephalitis, as well as yellow fever. So major important vector-borne, particularly the mosquito-borne diseases they are posed. So these flavivirus, for the flavivirus, we again developed a model known as anti-flavi. So we took our data from our databases as well as the CHEM1. So those molecules were utilized, and what we did, we took all the QSAR basically, and all the descriptors we have calculated and developed the model. This model is available. So in this model, what we are having the antiviral compounds as well as antiviral peptides. So this is the kind of the first algorithm in that, where we are using developed a model using the antiviral compound, their descriptors. Then we use the peptides, we use their descriptors, and then we swap these properties. We check whether the chemical properties are able to predict the antiviral peptides and the vice versa. And we could see that for the chemicals, our performance was really good, and it is performing well on independent. And when we are basically swapping these features, they are still working on the peptide features, are working on chemical features working on peptides. So here, these are the testing. So which shows that our methods is quite robust, and we call this approach as a peptidomimetic approach, where even using a peptide, we can try to predict the small molecules using the same thing and the vice versa. So this is the first of the approach in that particular area, and it is available on the web servers known as anti-flavi. Then we focused on the Nipah, because recent few years back, prior to COVID, we had an outbreak of Nipah in India and abroad also. So for this Nipah virus, we again we collected the anti-Nipah compounds, and then using those compounds, we then developed an algorithm to predict the anti-Nipah compounds, and that again, and as an anti-Nipah is available on the web servers. We, in each of these algorithm, we are also doing the basically chemical clustering for the what kind of the chemicals they are, and we found that they are different chemicals belonging to different diverse chemical scaffolds, and which shows that the algorithm which we have developed is quite robust, which encompassing different aspects or different chemical space in our algorithm, which are utilized. Then we, these were the couple of algorithms to predict the antiviral molecules. Then we shifted our gear to the basically the repurposing, because in 2017 we have initiated a project to focus on the drug repurposing, because for antivirus, as Dr. Raghava told answered somebody, that drug discovery is not a a simple process. It's a very long process. It takes a lot of time and lot of amount, right? Huge billions of dollars are being invested in that, and the big pharma companies basically do that job. We are providing the input. The academics are providing input which can be taken forward in the clinical things. So what we were emphasizing that for the viruses, because like COVID or any other virus, we don't have much time. So there we need to, kind of do these things quickly, and repurposing could be one of the things where existing drugs are being checked for their other use. And likewise, we developed a resource called Drug Rapid Database, which is the drug repurposing for 14 epidemic and pandemic virus, including SARS, MERS, as well as the SARS-CoV-2. And we did a lot of analysis for that, particularly for SARS, what kind of the molecules are being used, as well as for flaviviruses. And we could see that anti-infectives were highly used in the drug repurposing, as well as anti-cancer drug have been used for drug repurposing. And different all kind of drugs have been utilized for drug repurposing against viruses, right? So in this database, we have shown that ribavirin is one of which is primarily used for SCV, have now been repurposed for, you could see, for different viruses, chikungunya virus, dengue, Ebola, for different viruses. It has been repurposed. Likewise, chloroquine is also, if you could look initially, chloroquine, as earlier it was repurposed for the SARS, now it was repurposed for the COVID SARS-CoV-2 also. Likewise, there are several drugs which were repurposed. So using this data, drug repurposing data, what we did was we developed an algorithm known as anti-corona. So this particular algorithm basically try to identify the anti-corona molecules. So overall strategy is same. We are taking the SARS-1 as well as the MERS as well as SARS-CoV-2. So all three viruses of the coronavirus family we have taken, and we have developed an algorithm which is having the support vector machine, artificial neural network, random forest, k-neighbor, as well as deep learning. Here is the data. And algorithm, you could see R square seems to be from SVM seems to be 0.82, which is quite robust. VCC is more than 0.9. And you could see the plots between actual and predicted, which clearly shows that our methods are quite robust. And we also tested our models performance using the decoy data sets, which is a data sets of inactive compounds having similar maybe physiochemical properties as well as a molecular weight are quite similar, but still they are not performing. So you could see on actual and predicted decoy data sets, the performance is not coming good. It means our methods which we have developed for anti-corona is quite robust. Using this method, we have predicted several repurposed drugs which are available in drug bank database. You could see, and we have predicted their IC50 is quite good. And now we did a lot of chemical analysis and show that these molecules are in different chemical space. And currently we are in the process of like for these three viruses, whatever the drugs we have tested, some of the drugs were common in two viruses, none in, and we also checked whatever we have predicted, we also checked whether the predicted molecules are docking, whether they are docking somewhere. So we found that they are basically targeting the spike protein of this SARS-CoV-2. And we have done that molecular docking and analysis, and specifically shown that some of the molecules I have listed on the right side, they are working quite well with high binding capacity. And now the molecule which we have predicted, among them, there are many molecules which are in the clinical trial. So which we have predicted that they would be the good molecules. And now we are in the process of basically experimentally validating those molecules. So we are in that process. Okay, now moving forward, like we have developed resources for another important area which we have started from the beginning was the RNAi. So I talked about more on the antiviral peptides and molecules, but we are working on RNAi and specifically on antiviral aspects of that. So we took all the siRNA developed checked for HIV and developed the resource HIV-CDB. This was my first paper along with Dr. Raghava, who helped me a lot in this, and we developed this paper. And then we focused on the all the siRNA besides HIV for all the viruses. So for 42 human viruses, all siRNA which were tested at that time, RNA was on its peak in that sense. And we have developed a resources known as VirSiRNA-DB. And it do also have a lot of tools which helps to say whether this small stretch or sequence is basically binding or matching to all the viruses present in that family or in all the viruses. So we have the viral databases in the backend, and we search this small stretch of either this siRNA sequence. You can consider it as a primer sequence that can be searched, and we could get whether this sequence are conserved or not. Based on that, one can design a better siRNA molecule. And using those siRNA, we have developed an algorithm with siRNA to predict the viral siRNA efficacy. So why it is important? Because the earlier all methods developed, they were using the siRNA from mammalian systems, and viral siRNA were not included in their algorithm. Then we developed another algorithm, and which performed really good on the viral siRNA, and then using the mammalian based siRNA prediction algorithm. And here are the performance, various performance. So this is the first algorithm which we have developed. We have predicted the siRNA against dengue virus, and we have checked, we have designed or synthesized 11 siRNA against 4 gene of the dengue, envelope, capsid, pre-membrane region, and UTR regions. And then we have tested experimentally in our lab and found that out of 11, 5 are really working more than 90% inhibiting the dengue genes. Basically, it was not using the live virus. Instead, we are using dengue gene in a construct, right, and targeting those constructs. And okay, so this we have experimental validity. Yes, our algorithm are working good. Likewise, we have developed resource for the viral miRNA. Again, you are aware of Mirbase, which is having database repository for all the microRNA for all the viruses currently, not viruses, for all the organisms, more than 200 different organisms miRNA they are having. But the viral part was kind of neglected in there. So we have developed the VirMir-RNA. It is a dedicated resource for the viral microRNA, which is having viral microRNA, their viral microRNA targets, as well as their seed analysis. A lot of things are there. We have developed predictive algorithms. We did the RNAi screen, in which we used a lot of siRNA, and we did analysis of that also in this. Then we are within RNAi, then there was a focus, because if siRNA need to be taken to the clinical or other things, they need to be stable, right? Otherwise, we cannot use them. They will be degraded. So a lot of work is being done to modify these siRNA. So we developed a resource for the siRNA mode, which is a resource for chemically modified siRNA, in which locations they are modified. And then using this particular siRNA, chemically modified, we developed the algorithm SME-PAD. And this SME-PAD algorithm basically predict whether the what would be the efficacy of a chemically modified siRNA. So here you could see in this, what is the normal efficacy of siRNA if we do chemical modification, what would this, its efficacy. So all those things are being developed, as well as we developed platform siRNA-DB, which is of a small activating RNA. Earlier we focused on the small inhibitory RNA, siRNA, but now there are RNA which activate a particular gene. right? So these are small activating RNA. We have resource for that. And also resource for the allele specific siRNA, because which can target a specific allele. Because in allele space, there are some genetic disorder in which one mutation is in one gene, right? So we need to target that, and the normal gene need to be spared, right? So those aspects can be targeted using the allele specific siRNA. In the area of this CRISPR, in 2012, Rodna's paper on CRISPR-based genome editing, it was considered that it was an emerging technique. So this CRISPR-G is the first database on the CRISPR-Cas-based genome editing resources. So that is this was the first database, and using this particular data, we developed a pipeline known as GE-CRISPR, which is the integrated pipeline for the prediction and analysis of sgRNA, right, which are having high CRISPR-Cas system-based efficiency. And here you could see this is the resource and algorithm which we have developed having good PCC, right? And it was compared with the best of the Broad Institute algorithm, and our algorithm is performing better or almost equal or better than those available algorithm at that time. And this is the interface where user can provide the gene, and from that gene we will predict the sgRNA, and also what would be its efficacy, right? It is the efficacy in classification mode, red or green means okay, and off target, what are the off target? We also have what are the off target, list of all the off targets which are available. So those are the tools which are developed. So they are to have the they are basically equivalent to any of the tools available worldwide. One of the another important area which we focused was the quorum sensing and the biofilm, because biofilm play a major role in the antimicrobial resistance. So in that area, we developed a resource for quorum sensing signaling molecule in prokaryotes, because these prokaryotes, all the bacteria, virus, and all the even the eukaryotes, so they communicate. How do they communicate? So they use these small molecules, which we call the signaling molecules, particularly AHL, right? So N-acyl homoserine lactone. These are the one of the major molecules which help in the communication. So it's a chemical communication among these prokaryotes. So we developed this resource of the quorum sensing molecules, right? And or the chemical language of the prokaryotes. So it is showing that we did a lot of analysis and so on, that they are important in intra-species as well as interspecies communication among prokaryotes. Besides, we also developed quorum sensing peptides are important because they play an important role in quorum sensing. So we predicted how to predict the quorum sensing peptides. So we developed the algorithm to predict the quorum sensing peptides. And later on, as I was telling, that the biofilms play an important in antimicrobial resistance, because all the pathogens, either they develop, they go in the form of the biofilm mode. And in the biofilm mode, the antibiotic which we are giving, that becomes ineffective. So that's how they develop resistance, right? But in literature, a lot of chemicals, small molecules, peptides, and many things have been used, agents have been used, which can target those biofilm, and bacteria is exposed and can be killed by the normal antibiotic, which was earlier it becomes resistant. So this is a complete resource of antibiofilm agents which can target the biofilms, right? So, and likewise, we have, those are the molecules. We have also focused to develop algorithm to identify the antibiofilm peptides, which can target the biofilms. Besides some subcellular localization of viral proteins, so these we have predicted, as well as some epigenomic methylation profile of important viruses, particularly EBV, HBV, which cause a lot of carcinomas. So we have done resource for that. This Raghav has already shared with you that we, our group, collectively developed this integrated Zika virus resource in 2015, because that was, we have an epidemic of the Zika virus. So we predicted lot of vaccine epitopes and lot of things have been done to do comprehensive bioinformatic analysis for that virus and provide it. Likewise, we have done extensive bioinformatic analysis, including epitopes, iRNA, miRNA, sgRNA, and other diagnostic primers. We have developed for Nipah virus and also for the human papilloma virus. We have developed resource for that also. And likewise, we have developed, as I told you, we developed therapeutic resource for the human papilloma virus. And in that virus, for human papilloma virus, we developed one algorithm also, which would predict the immunogenic epitope in human papilloma virus. Although it do have a couple of vaccines in the market, but in our we have developed one specific methods for the HPV, and it was performing quite well since it is very pathogen specific. So here one can predict the important peptide which are showing peptide with B cell, MSC1, MSC2 status, and all those related details are being developed. Lastly, we recently come up with the Corona VR, like in a similar way. Currently, we have the problem of the coronavirus, and we developed a resource of Corona VR, which is a computational resource again for analysis of epitope as well as therapeutics for SARS-CoV-2. Here you could see in the Corona VR, we have developed resource for epitope. It will include B cell epitope, T cell epitope. B cell, it will have linear as well as discontinuous epitope. In T cell also MSC1 binder, 2 binder, as well as the CD8 or CD4 immunogenic. So we used Dr. Raghava's tool, which his group has developed over the time, as well as the tool available on IDB. And using all those tools, we've done the comprehensive analysis or to predict the epitopes and different aspects of those were provided, as well as we did designed the siRNA against different almost the entire genome of the SARS-CoV-2. We predicted their miRNA and sgRNA. We have basically designed primers also, which would be helpful to identify or to amplify different strains of the corona, basically SARS-CoV-2. And we have utilized that information in our experimental work, where we tried to use those primers to amplify the SARS-CoV-2 in the clinical samples, which we have processed at CSIR Tech. And of course, we have provided all the related genomic information, which are really helpful to know which regions are conserved, which are not. And particularly, these are helpful to know how the different variants which are coming in the coronavirus, what would be their impact. So all these resources would be helpful in those kind of the analysis. Right. So I think time is getting up, so I'm almost done. So this is the general approach. I think I talked about all the epitopic things. It's a pipeline, and in that, if you could see, we have also used like antigenicity prediction. So whether the peptide would be antigenic, if it is, then it should be removed from our prediction. So all those analysis and their conservancy and population coverage analysis were also done. So all these tools really help to know which would be the important, basically the immunogenic epitopes. And some of these epitopes which we have predicted, I am not talking about that experimental part. We are using them to develop the diagnostic platform for the COVID. So that work was already going on using the peptides which we have predicted from these algorithms. Right? So with that, I was just trying to give you an overview. It was not an exhaustive one, but it's just to give an overview of the tools which we have developed, particularly in the area of the viral bioinformatics per se. And because of the COVID, a lot of tools have been used, and there are demand for more tools from the community. And all the work which I have shared with you would not possible without my directors who has given me all the opportunity at Intech, and a special mention of Dr. G.P.S. Raghava, from whom I learned this bioinformatics and who is quite supportive, and throughout his stay we could develop so many tools and now continue. I'd like to acknowledge the team of virology unit. Currently I'm heading the virology, and BIC team as well as IT team, all my lab members, all my students. I'm really thankful to Abid, who was my first student and currently in faculty in Srinagar, and Akanksha, who is in postdoc in UCSD, and all my PhD students as well as my project staff who are doing really good. And recent project staff including Subham, who is with Dr. Raghava. So he has done a lot of good work here. So, and thanks to funding from CSIR, DBT, and DST. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Dr. Raghava and organizing committee to give me this opportunity to share and discuss the work which we have carried out in the past to develop publicly available database in the public domain. Thank you all. I'm open for questions.